Hey, and welcome to this second TypeScript tutorial series. So in this video, we are going to learn about how to write TypeScript practically and how you can use it. From here onward, we'll see like how you can use it in your projects and like the practical use cases of TypeScript, right? So far we have seen that TypeScript is just a transpiler. So what does that mean? If you haven't seen the previous video, I would recommend go to the first video and watch that. So basically what TypeScript will do is TypeScript will stop you. The main goal of the entire goal of TypeScript is to stop you from making all mistakes, the mistakes that you have been doing so far because of the nature of JavaScript, right? Now TypeScript's entire goal is the same. You stop making the small mistakes at before runtime, at compile time, and build time, right? When you are writing the code, and TypeScript will help you there, and you will see like how exactly TypeScript is going to help you, right? The code that you're seeing in front of you is a plain JavaScript, and now you all know, if you know JavaScript well, that the if check, the x is being initialized to an empty string. But you know that even if it is getting initialized to empty string, because the way that double equal to the equality works, we know that this check will pass, right? If I run this code, doesn't matter where I'm running, because of the way that this it doesn't matter if it is a browser or Node.js or Dino or anywhere else, as long as the engine is following the standard JavaScript, right, this code will pass, right? But technically it should not pass. Think about it. X is a string, it's an empty string, but it's a string, and a string should never be equal to a number. You don't know that what's contained gonna be in this string, right? So technically this code should never work, and it will never work in a statically typed language, right? We saw in the previous slide that in a statically typed language you cannot compare string and a number like that. Statically typed language will stop you, because it knows the type of x at build time, at compile time. And JavaScript doesn't check that. JavaScript doesn't care about. There is something called as coercion, the concept called as coercion. JavaScript, because of the double equal to, JavaScript will convert this sorry, no, on the right hand side, the number into a string, and then it will compare the strings, and then it will pass, the if check will pass, and we'll see this statement that the console.log. But technically it should not have worked, and this is exactly the use case of TypeScript. It will stop you from making these kind of silly mistakes, right? And now it may sound like it's something non-trivial, it's something very useless. You may be thinking that, why do I need TypeScript? I will just write triple equal to, and this will not work anymore. And you are right, but remember, TypeScript is not just a type checker. It is a superset of JS, but it's not just that. It gives you lots of new features, and it helps you prototype your application very quickly. It's a lot better than JavaScript, and once you learn the TypeScript, you'll forever stick with it, trust me. So, and this is exactly what we are going to learn today, right? So if I write this code in a TypeScript file, so this is how you create a TypeScript file, index.ts. You see, even without doing anything, it's telling me that there is an error. There is a red underline here. What is it saying? This condition will always return false since the type string, which is x, and number have no overlap. That means you cannot compare string and number together like that. It will always return false, and this is the power of TypeScript. It knows what you are doing and what you are doing wrong at build time when you're writing the code, right? Just to check if what will be the output of this the TypeScript file after when we are running this. I'll recommend you to go to the official TypeScript Playground, typescriptlang.org/play, so that you don't have to set up anything, right? They give you one code editor, which is exactly a VS Code editor. You don't have to learn anything new. If you type your TypeScript code here on the left hand side, on the right hand side, you will see what is the output of that TypeScript, right? Now you see there is an error in our code, the same error that we saw in our VS Code. But on the right hand side, you see that the JS code is still getting out. You're still getting the JS code output from this TypeScript. The TypeScript compiler is still converting this to a valid JS code. The reason for that is TypeScript is something called as an erasure compiler. It will tell you that there is an error, but if you still want the error code to be converted into the valid, the JavaScript, it will still there are ways to still do that. Of course, it's not recommended, but this is something that will give you the idea like what TypeScript will do. You're gonna write plain simple TypeScript code, which could be just a normal JavaScript code, because remember, TypeScript is just superset of JS. It can do everything JS can do. It has added things on top of JS, right? And it will convert that code into valid JavaScript code for you while checking the correctness of the code, right? So this is the basic idea of TypeScript. I'll show you like if you want to stick with the official playground, remember you cannot run the code. You can just see the code's correctness here on the online editor. To get started with the plain simple, the development on your own machine, what you need to do is you need to install the TypeScript on your. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna delete this code. I don't need index.js, and I'm gonna get started. So remember, for any project we need to create a node project because we are gonna run this with node, and for that I need package.json. You can do this with npm yarn, pnpm, or any other tool you want. I'm gonna use npm for now. Npm init -y will create a package.json for me, and here what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna install TypeScript for me. The command for that is pretty simple: npm I or npm install TypeScript. What this will do is it will install the TypeScript compiler on your machine. The compiler is very small, it's not that heavy, so it should not take much time. And once you have that, there is package.lock.json, all those things. And once you have that, you should be able to get started with the TypeScript. Now, what this dependency gives you is a compiler. The even though I call it compiler, remember it's just a transpiler, but just as a convenience, we call it a compiler. So it gives you a compiler called as a TSC. A TSC stands for TypeScript compiler. It's in the name, right? So we can call it the build script. I'm gonna create a build script and give it any name, doesn't matter. This will just bundle your code together. Now what I'm gonna do is I'll not use that right now. What I'll do is I'll create a basic TypeScript code, right? Just to show you that all the same code that I wrote in the online playground, it works here as well. If I write console.log hello world here, let's write hello TypeScript. Now how to run this code? This is where we are going to use the TypeScript compiler that we use. Remember, you can run any binary that is installed on your local node modules with npx. So I can use npx here, tsc. If I give the index.ts path to it, what it will do is it will take the file index.ts, it will transpile it, it will convert all the TypeScript code into JavaScript code. It will check for correctness, and it will bundle, well, not technically bundle, but it will just convert this file into equivalent JS file. Now you see, now this is the code that you can actually run, right? So if I can feed this code index.js to any engine, a browser, a node, anywhere, right? So if I run this, I can run that. And this is how you'll be using TypeScript in your day-to-day. If you think about it, this is almost equivalent to what we have been doing with the React, right? You have your React code, you write React code in some different language, and you give it to Babel or a Webpack or any other bundler, and they convert the code to valid JavaScript for you, and you run that code at the end. And when you're gonna deploy it, when you're gonna run it on the browser, you run the valid JavaScript. This is nothing different than that, except TypeScript is a language now. You're writing entirely new language, right? So this is the basics of language, the TypeScript. In the next video, we're gonna, if you try it out, in the next video we're gonna learn about the primitive types in the TypeScript, just like JavaScript, and the basic how to get started with the function calls and all other things. Okay, thank you for joining. I'll see you guys next.